even care enough to cut off my head.
Is a vampire scorned? Buffy's worst enemy returns.
You shouldn't have come back, Spike.
It's been so long since I had a decent spot of violence.
Buffy. Buffy's worst enemy returns.
You shouldn't have come back, Spike.
Buffy.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
And this week, we will be diving into Season 3, Episode 8, Lover's Walk.
Yes, Episode 8. We
Lover's
are
Walk. And
Lover's
both
Walk.
parts.
We're 4 episodes away from our mid-season hiatus.
We are. What are your plans for our mid-season hiatus, Ames?
Probably hookers and cocaine.
Okay. I'm probably going to take a trip to, I don't know, somewhere in Indonesia and have I'll probably go on a walkabout.
Nice.
Yeah. See if I can meet some monks and
For the you're gonna go on a 2-week walkabout in Indonesia.
yes. I'm thinking about subjecting myself to a deprivation chamber.
Okay.
So I can really get some quality mind mojo going on.
Right.
Yeah, none of that's happening. No, not at all. I won't even leave the neighborhood probably.
No. Yeah, me. I mean, I'll probably get cocaine and hookers.
Yeah, coke and hookers that's pretty standard for you though, you know.
It's like a Tuesday night.
Right. So
What is that? I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Next to the mug you just grabbed, what brand of root beer is that I'm seeing back there?
that is Kroger brand root beer.
Kroger. Okay.
I actually, I don't drink a lot of soda anymore. I used to be, oh boy, a big soda drinker. I don't drink a ton anymore. And I've noticed since I've been buying it again, like the prices are fucking ridiculous. So I buy generic shit because like a 12 pack of like, I don't know, a Pepsi product here is like $9 or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is fucking bonkers.
It is. It's insane.
Yeah. So, yep. Good old Kroger brand root beer.
Nice. I have myself a Soda Stream.
Ah, okay. I've thought about that, but I don't know how does it taste?
Well, so I don't actually use any of the soda syrups. So I just buy like the sun-kissed water flavor packs or things like that. And I actually I pour that into carbonated water.
Now is there a sweetener involved or how does that work?
I'm sure there's some sort of
It's in the
sweetener.
packet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I don't do sugar. So
Well, I don't know what it's sweetened with because it claims to be 0 sugar, 0 calories.
oh, it's probably aspartame
Like
then.
most of those. So yeah, it's probably aspartame.
And I can't do aspartame. It gives me a fucking migraine. So I do sucralose, aka Splenda.
Yeah, when I first got the Soda Stream, I bought like the cherry cola syrup because I'm a big cherry cola drinker.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for the way it tasted.
Mhm.
So like I said, I just usually get like the various water flavor, the little pouch ones, like,
Sure. Yeah, I've had them. They make Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they make Kool-Aid ones,
all kinds of
stuff.
different ones. Yeah.
And I just add those to carbonated water. I'll tell you what, one of my favorite drinks now is carbonated pineapple.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
I've seen pineapple sodas before, but
yeah,
I've never tried one. I thought that sounds a little too sweet for me.
yeah, no, it's and that's why I did it because before I got the Soda Stream, pineapple soda had become one of my newest I don't want to say addictions, but I had discovered it and was quite fond of it.
Yeah.
So,
I,
but
I like
anyway,
I like a good ginger ale too.
yeah, of course you would.
Hey now. Whoa. Now, James, if you look behind me even further here, you will notice Duncan MacLeod's uh, trench coat.
Trench coat. Oh, very nice.
The
I did-
original.
Very nice. I didn't notice that, but that is very nice.
The original, baby.
Right? Where'd you obtain that? From the Highlander, the now defunct Highlander store?
The catalog, indeed. Many, many moons ago.
Many, many. If I had had adult money back then,
You wouldn't have any money now.
I wouldn't have any money now.
Yeah.
Not that the bank accounts, you know,
Overflowing.
busting at the seams or anything. But if I had had the adult money that I have now back then, man,
Yeah. It would have
I
been
don't.
bad.
Yeah, I don't think anything. There probably wouldn't have been much in that catalog that I didn't own.
I don't know. You'd be surprised. There were some really stupid ass things in there that I'm
Oh.
convinced no one bought.
Oh, I remember. The only thing I ever bought from the Highlander store was the hair ties.
Ah, yeah. I never had those. I regret that. I belt buckle. I had so much shit. It's unreal. I've still got most of it. Some of it I've
I
lost for the years, but
I still have the hair ties. And even though my hair is not long anymore, I will occasionally wear them as bracelets.
oh,
So,
well, that's pretty
'cause-
good. So anyway,
wow. Those things were like $20 a piece
I
back in the
know
day.
everything
Like,
was expensive in that
they're-
fucking catalog.
trust me, when I decided to cut my hair, I was like, these fucking things are still getting used somehow.
Yeah, because everything in that catalog was insane.
Right.
It's like, oh, here's a notebook of paper with the Highlander name embroidered on it. $75.
Right.
So, yeah.
I have a couple things that I got as quote unquote free gifts for buying like the complete series box sets back in the day. I think I've got somewhere around here I've still got a Highlander the movie poster, and I think I've got a poster that's like the travels of Duncan MacLeod.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
Yeah, why don't we jump into some Buffy the Vampire
right,
Slayer stuff?
We veered off course for the last 10 minutes here.
Yes, yeah.
As previously stated, we're revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 3, episode 8, the 42nd episode of the series overall, Lover's Walk. Our episode director this week was David Semmel, and our episode credited writer was Dan Weber. Our original air date was November 24th, 1998 on the now defunct WB network. Our Nielsen rating for this episode was 3.7 million households. So a bit of a drop from the last couple of weeks where we were in the 4 million households. What's that?
Few 100,000.
Yeah. It ranked 76th out of the 110 original network primetime shows airing that week, and third out of the 15 original shows airing on the WB for that week. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest stars this week include the return of James Marsters as Spike.
What?
Christine Sutherland as Joyce, Harry Groner as Mayor Wilkins, Jack Plotnick as Deputy Mayor Finch, and Mark Burnham as Lenny. Our episode
I think meant to say a return of James Marster as the greatest character in the history of this show. I think is what you meant. So that's what you say. Yeah.
Pretty sure that's not what I meant to say. Our episode synopsis this week reads: a broken-hearted Spike returns to Sunnydale, ready to take revenge on those he blames for his troubles, especially Angel.
Oh my. Mine reads, Spike returns to Sunnydale and kidnaps Willow in hopes of creating a magic spell that will make Drusilla love him again. So, you know, let's just throw it all out there.
I was just going to say it threw the entire pot of pasta at the wall and everything stuck.
Yep.
Wow. All right, let's jump into our cold open here. We open at Sunnydale High where we see that the SAT scores are in, and Willow is upset over her 740 in the verbal. Cordelia also did very well, surprisingly, as did our titular Slayer, Buffy, scoring a, what was it, 1430?
1430, I believe.
1430 combined score.
Which, what we know of Buffy, do you buy that?
What we know of Cordelia, do we buy that she did exceptionally well?
Well, I guess you're right. I mean,
I mean,
test really well, I guess, you know.
Exactly.
I guess you can buy
it. Even though she did have such a high score, she seems fairly down about it, and she says it's because she never really had to think about her future before, and Cordelia says it's great because now Buffy can leave and never come back, and she kind of corrects herself and says she meant that in a positive way, and she says, you know, well, what kind of moron would ever want to come back here? At which point we see what kind of moron would want to come back to Sunnydale, and it is Spike, who we see once again crash through the Welcome to Sunnydale sign, and he tumbles out of his car, clearly drunk, and that is our cold open.
It is our cold open. Yeah, he's shit-faced. We come back from break, and he's back at the old burned-out Brick and Brock factory, and he's stumbling around and drinking and crying and yelling, and long story short, Drusilla has left him, and he's moping. He's emoing pretty hard about it.
He's being a little bitch about it.
He is kind of being a bitch about it. He finds some of her dolls that had gotten left behind from last season, and then he just starts destroying them. He's like, "You fucking bitch!" Blah 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 blah. And so yeah, Spike is a different feller this time around, and we cut to school the next day, and Xander's trying to get Cordelia to agree to go on a double date with Willow and Oz, and everybody go bowling. And she finally agrees, and they're gonna go do some bowl. And and Oz and Willow head over to Willow's locker, and he hands her it looks like a napkin. It's like a rolled up napkin. And she opens it up, and it's a Pez dispenser of a witch, and she's, you know, super touched by it and everything. And she's like, "But I don't have anything to give to you." And he's like, "Yes, you do." And then he walks away, and she's like, "Swoon." And so yeah, he's a pimp boyfriend. And we cut to the library, and Giles is packing up a shitload of camping gear, it looks like. And he's Buffy's in there, and she's presenting him her SAT scores, and he's blown away. He's like, "Whoa, all this time I thought you were an idiot."
He's like, "Are you sure you're a natural blonde?"
Yeah. And so she ends up he gets really serious for a minute, and he's like, maybe, because she's talking about how her mom's wanting her to talk about all these different colleges and stuff that are not in Sunnydale and whatnot, and he's like, well, maybe your mom's right, maybe these SAT scores could get you a first rate education, and with Faith being here now, maybe you can go away for a while and basically live your fucking life and shit. And she's Buffy is not really feeling that. It seems like Buffy's like, yeah, I'm not really wanting to leave, obviously because she loves Angel.
Well, not just the Angel thing, but like we've talked about this before, and I brought it up earlier in this season. Like for as much as she bemoans the fact that she quote unquote can never have a normal life, she keeps getting handed these opportunities to
Yeah,
have a normal life, and
yeah,
she doesn't take them.
yeah. It seems to me that I don't know. It seems like can't she's 17, and it'd be a lot of change, and I don't know. I think she's more scared of change than she is just staying in Sunnydale and fighting the monsters she knows. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Kind of thing.
right. But I also think they try to pass it off somewhat as like her being um like she's that dedicated to her calling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I don't always buy that, you know? Like
Yeah.
like is Buffy a hero? Yes, 100% she is. Has she thrown herself on the proverbial grenade numerous times to save her friends and the world? Yes, she has. So I do 100% believe that she's a hero through and through, and she takes this seriously. But at the same time, she is a 17-year-old girl, and as often as she does bemoan the fact that she wants to live a normal life, I just feel like we should be seeing her take that opportunity more often, I guess. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Especially because like there is Faith now. Like it's not just her. There's Faith, and if Faith gets ganked, there's going to be another Slayer.
I think I think the Faith thing actually is probably part of it, because I think she kind of is unsure of Faith at this point, um,
Yeah,
especially as of late.
right.
Uh, yeah, and I think it's the idea of leaving all of her friends, everything she knows, basically leaving it all. I could relate to that.
Sure. Sure.
Um. Anyway, so he's like, so Giles is like, is it because of Angel that you don't want to go? And she's like, no, we're strictly friends, nothing else. Blah blah blah. And we cut away. We cut to Xander and Willow are walking through the school, outside the school, and they're kind of second guessing this whole idea to go on a double date because they're having a lot of trouble keeping their hands off each other. Because they're like midway talking. He's like, and can I kiss your earlobe? And she's like, yes, no, no. And they're both like, fuck, what's this is crazy. And he mentions in the conversation, I wish I had never felt this way, for you. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm a witch. I'll just make a spell.
Can I just say I have always hated this B storyline throughout season 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you hate Xander, or you just don't like this?
Probably because I hate Xander.
Okay, okay.
It could be because I hate Xander.
I don't like it, not because I hate Xander, but not because I hate Xander, but because I like Oz so much.
I
And
think
I'm
it's a
like, oh,
common
man.
I think it's a combination of things. I think for one, it's I hate Xander.
Mhm.
So there's that. I think it's the fact that it seems it's it seems out of character for Willow. Um and the fact that I do like Oz and Cordelia so much. I think that all plays into it.
It is. I agree that it is kind of out of character for her, but it is Xander, and she's had a thing for Xander
Right.
since they were like first graders.
Right. And I do give it leeway, in that regard. Um, because it is Xander, and we well established from very early on that she's had a long-standing thing for Xander. So I do give it leeway for that, but yeah, I've never been a fan of this of this whole the B storyline.
I'm usually not a fan in shows in general when there's like a love triangle. I'm usually like, you know, but you know, what are you gonna do? You gotta create some drama.
Right. I think part of the reason I dislike it too is because it just furthers the what a skis Xander is. Like as much fault as Willow has in this whole situation too, like I 100% blame Xander.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Like
not a hard guy to blame.
Like the dude's like never happy with what he has. Like right in front of him.
He has like a literal beauty queen.
Right.
And he's, you know,
and I think it kind of goes back to like what we've said before. Like he's got Cordelia, and now he's kind of got Willow on the side a little bit, and yet we all know that if for whatever reason Buffy were like, Xander, take me now, he would forget about both of them.
Oh yeah. He's well.
I think that's a big part of it. It just kind of drives home what a skis Xander is, and I don't understand why he's even supposed to be a likable character on this show.
Well, that I can't help with. I don't know. I guess maybe back in the day, looking through '90s lenses, maybe he was a more likable guy.
Maybe
I don't remember hating him this much back then. I remember always being like, well, he's kind of creepy, but not like hating him at the level I do now.
You know what? I will agree with that. I don't remember disliking him to the extent that I do now back then.
Yeah.
I know I know I didn't like this storyline even back then just cuz I felt bad for everyone involved.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't recall disliking Xander Lavelle Harris as much back then as I do now.
No, I certainly don't. I remember there were always things that would pop up and I'd be like, ooh, that's fucking skeevy, but you know, never like, God damn, he's a piece of shit. But
right.
That's 20 plus years of living.
I was gonna say it's revisiting it through adult eyes now.
Right. Where are we at? Oh yeah. So that night we cut to Spike creeping outside the Crawford Street mansion there where Angel's at. And he's peeping at him. Angel's furiously masturbating and he's completely nude. And Spike is just watching him like, yeah, mother, get it, boy, get no. Anyway, but he is peeping on him, and he's talking the things he's saying because he's kind of like saying them to himself, but he's saying them so loud. I'm convinced Angel could hear him because there's no glass.
Right.
It's like a shattered glass, and there's like some wood slats put up, and his whole face is in between these two wood slats, and he's just like, yeah, you piece of shit, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Angel's only like maybe 15 to 20 feet away.
Right.
Like, he would probably look over and be like, yo, what the fuck?
Right. I thought the same thing. I was like, what? How is Angel not hearing this?
Yeah, exactly. Especially because he's a supernatural being, so he's got heightened senses.
Right.
And I'm like, come on. But anyway, he's like, yeah, I'm going to get you, you bastard. And he's even more drunk now than he was earlier. And he ends up falling into, what is that? Like the little fountainy garden thing?
Yeah. Yeah. He falls into the fountain in the garden.
Yeah. And he passes out drunk, which, I guess we now know that vampires are absolutely susceptible to alcohol just as humans are.
Did you I'm sure I already know the answer. Did you take note of what Angel was reading?
No, I did not.
He is reading
Penthouse, Letters to Penthouse.
Letters to Penthouse, yeah, the Penthouse forum. No, he's reading La Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre.
Oh, okay. It would have
It's
been better if he'd have been reading like Bram Stoker's Dracula or something.
oh, um, it's basic. It's about uh, it, it's the thoughts and subjective experiences kind of in a diary format of the main character Antoine Roquentin, who's a melancholy and socially isolated intellectual, um, uh, whose growing alienation and disillusionment um, coincide with an increasingly intense experience of revulsion, which he calls the nausea. Um, but I thought it was interesting that they had Angel reading it. Um,
So
just
Angel sees himself as a lonely intellectual who
that's kind
is
of what I
frustrated by
that
society.
that's kind of what I was taking away from having him read that. Yeah, like
He's
he's
like, I'm
definitely
too smart for this world.
he's definitely identifies with the main character of that of
Yeah.
that novel. Yeah.
That's kind of funny. The next morning, Spike awakens from his drunken stupor because his hand is on fucking fire because the sun is coming in and his hand was laying in a beam of sun and he's like, ah, fuck, and he jumps up and runs over and throws it, he dunks it in some fucking water in the fountain, and then tries to run up the stairs, but it's the sun's up there too, so he's got the coat over himself and he ends up running to his car and diving into his car and slamming the door shut, which because all the windows are like painted out black. And what's he do? Pour some alcohol on his hand and then starts drinking some more and whining.
This is another part, like obviously it's still the same scene, but like he's screaming because he's on fucking fire, and I'm like, where the fuck is Angel?
Well,
Like,
what could he do? Was he going to run out? He couldn't run out in the sun and check, I guess.
right, but I mean,
But he
like,
has to be like, who's that? Who's screaming outside?
right, like who the fuck is screaming outside my mansion right now?
Yeah. So, yeah, he's still being emo Spike and woe is me and everything. And back at home, Mom and Buffy are in the kitchen chit-chatting. And what are they chit-chatting about there, Ames J?
They're talking about Buffy's night of passion with Angel. Joyce has decided she wants to hear all about that Angel loving.
She wants the full details.
Right. And
even though that's her daughter, she still wants the full details.
Right. And Buffy's like, she's in the middle of telling Joyce that Angel is hung like a fucking Clydesdale.
Like a corpse.
No, they're Joyce is still pushing the whole college thing on Buffy, and Buffy's kind of not having it, and Joyce is like, well, what could possibly be keeping you, here? And then we cut to Buffy visiting Angel at the mansion, and
all of this hunkness right here, shoot.
Right. And he basically tells her that he agrees with everyone else and she should, get out of Sunnydale and go get her education and live her life.
And she's like, okay, deuces, and she leaves.
She does. She leaves.
Never to see Angel again.
It's funny because like he's basically like, yeah, you should definitely like get the fuck out of Sunnydale and have a future. And like obviously she's upset by this. Like that's not what she wanted him to say,
Right.
And so she starts to pack up to leave, and he's all like, "Where are you going? Like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? Why are you leaving?
Why are you leaving?
You just got here. Why are you leaving?" And I'm like, such a fucking idiot.
I know. For somebody who's lived for 200 and some odd years, my friend,
Right.
you've not learned many social cues.
So yeah, she leaves, and we cut to another magic store there in Sunnydale, not the same one that we previously saw Jenny visiting. Um,
Yeah,
it's
it's like
also
how many magic stores are in Sunnydale?
right, Ben. It's also not the magic box.
Right. It's not the one we're going to come to know
Right.
starting next season.
So he sneaks in to the back
Although
there.
in certain ways,
looks
it
a lot
looks a
like
lot
it.
like the magic box, but
It does,
it's
because I
not.
thought it was at first too when the scene
Right.
cut to it, but then like the layout was different and
Yeah, it was all
the entrance and everything. I was like, well, no, this isn't the magic box.
yeah.
Um. Uh. So he's in there and he's telling the lady that's working there that he's looking for a curse and he wants something really nasty like boils or leprosy or something like that. And as he's talking, Willow comes in. So the clerk goes and tends to Willow, and we find out that she's looking for the ingredients for a delusting spell. Um,
As one does.
right. And um, as they're talking, we see that um, Spike is paying particularly close attention to the conversation. And when Willow leaves, Spike kills the clerk, apparently having decided that uh, a a love spell to get Drew back would be uh, better than a curse on Angel. And then we cut to Mayor Wilkins practicing his golf putt in his office, and Deputy Mayor Finch tells him that they have a Spike problem and suggests that perhaps Mr. Trick could send a committee to deal with it. Um,
And so a literal actual political committee goes to meet up with Spike, and they're literally just talking about things that are on the docket that year and whatnot. And Spike is like,
right.
"Why are
At,
you
right.
here?"
At one point, they're like, let's talk about Sunnydale's annual budget.
Right.
And Spike's
What
like,
we can do to maybe get some money over to Parks and Recreation.
right,
A lot of the playgrounds are really
right,
uh, getting bad, and then
right. They're like, the playground on the corner of Main and Martin Luther King could use a new seesaw and
yeah,
possibly some new uh, bedding in underneath the swings, like the wood chips. And Spike's like, why do I care about this?
yeah. Why
Um,
are you here? And they're like, "Well, we were told
right,
we need to
we're
with you."
we're a committee and we're coming to deal with you. And then they start talking about uh, the Sunnydale Summerfest
Uh huh.
and possibly like what bands they could get to like main stage, the main night of the Summerfest. Um,
And one guy says Creed,
right, one
and
guy's like,
another guy says Nickelback, and then they all beat those two guys up.
right.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and then another guy is like, well, Dingoes Ate My Baby are going to perform all 3 nights of the Summerfest.
Yeah, the
Um,
same song too.
but we still need like a main headlining act for like that main night. And then Spike just pulls a stake out and stakes himself.
Yeah, he does. He can't
So,
take it anymore.
right. So the committee worked.
Yeah, committee worked, and the Spike problem's been taken care of.
Um, so yeah, Deputy Mayor Finch suggests that they have Mr. Trick send a committee to deal with Spike, and the mayor, after a few different, he's like sidetracked talking about offering to sell Deputy Mayor Finch's soul for uh, a good short game, and um, whether or not allowing a loose cannon to rock the boat is a mixed metaphor.
Yeah.
Finally agrees that uh, having Mr. Trick send a committee to deal with Spike is a good idea. And then we cut to Sunnydale High that night. Willow's in the chemistry lab working on the ingredients for her delusting spell. And Xander shows up and he figures out what Willow's doing and they start to argue. And then Spike shows up and he's drunk again or still. And he attacks Xander. And he says he needs Willow.
I need you, Willow. And she's like, I've always needed you, Spiky baby.
And
And
then
they run and embrace and yeah.
and then they fuck.
And then they fuck with beakers all around them.
Yeah.
Bunsen burners.
Right. The Bunsen burners are like they're lit from Willow doing her shit and they're falling over and they light the place on fire.
Yep.
The beakers are shattering around them.
But they don't stop because
they
they're
don't
both in
stop.
such a place of ecstasy.
Right. They are just going to town. Willow is screaming for Spike to beat up that what?
What? Oh, I thought
Whoa.
we just had to change the rating of our show.
Whoa. Oh,
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
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 Whoo.
See if I can top that later.
So Spike we cut to the factory where Spike has now taken a still unconscious Xander.
Yeah, I wanted to mention when he KOs Xander,
How Xander should be fucking dead.
Xander's fucking dead again. Isn't this
Right.
Is this 2 episodes in a row, or was there one in between where?
I don't know. I mean, we kill him a couple times.
But dude, he has got CTE, something fucking
Right.
fierce, because
Like, no wonder he scored so poorly on his SATs. He's fucking brain damaged.
yeah, because he doesn't get KO'd like with a punch or something like that. It's always some type of it was Giles who got knocked the fuck out last week with a giant
with
a
the statue. Right.
So he's got CTE.
Xander fucking
brain
took a
damage.
microscope to the noggin in this
Yeah,
episode.
Yes, so Xander. So basically, Xander and Giles now eat from straws.
They are drooling,
Idiots.
mindless morons.
Yes, they are in the type of wheelchair that you have to blow through the straw to make it move.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And their favorite color is potato. that's where we're at right now with Giles and Xander.
Right. So Spike's got them back at the factory, and Xander's unconscious, and Spike explains the situation to Willow, and threatening her.
Amazingly, she's like, I don't even care. Kill
Right.
him.
She's like, I don't fucking care. You would be doing me a favor if you fucking killed him.
Yeah, I've got a boyfriend, and he keeps trying to hit it on the side, and you
Right.
know,
I keep letting him, so I'm kind of to blame. Yeah, but
I really need this out of my life right now. So do what you want to do, bitch.
right. And then after you kill him, I'll let you hit again.
And Spike's like, I'm in.
Right. Spike's like, yeah, of course he is.
And he's like, well, I don't really need to kill the guy because he's pretty much mashed
right.
potatoes.
He's gonna be out for a while.
Yeah.
But Spike's like, yeah, of course I'm in. I've done redheads before. I know what that's all about.
I like hitting a ginger, so
Right.
let's come on.
Who
Because
doesn't?
because you know why? Gingers have no soul, just like a vampire.
I love redheads. I'm gonna put that out there right now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the same.
Right. I know. I'm just gonna. I love problematic women and I love redheads. And you get me a problematic redhead, I'll probably try and wife her up.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay.
So if there's any problematic redheads listening and they like what they see, hit me up.
And you want to get wifed up by a world famous podcaster? then just hit us up.
if this pirate beard and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle T-shirt's doing anything for you, slide into our DMs.
And don't forget the busting at the seams bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh huh. Where were we?
You're getting so many DMs now.
One can hope.
I don't know how you're going to even keep up with all of them.
I don't know. Okay, Spike fills Willow in on the situation. And tells her he's going to kill her if she doesn't cast the love spell.
By the way, can we talk a little bit about Willow's fucking acting chops in this scene, or I should say Allison Hannigan's acting chops? Man, she fucking, because like he's grabbing her by the hair and he's being real physical, and she is doing a hell of a. I mean, she looks petrified, and she's full on crying. I'm talking big ass tears and shit, and her and SMG are actors on another level in this show.
I mean, we've talked about this before, and I'm even going to give it to Nicholas Brendan, as much as I despise Xander and ultimately in real life Nicholas because of the piece of trash he's turned out to be. Yeah. Everybody on this show is like, they're phenomenal. They act the hell out of everything they're in. But you're right. Allison, you feel like Willow is fucking terrified.
Yeah, you can feel that shit, and you feel, and you want to like reach through the screen and help her and shit, and it's
right.
Like I said, she and SMG, man, they take shit to a different level. Where you're like, oh fuck, is this real? Is this really happening?
Right. Spike, after threatening to shove a broken glass bottle through Willow's face
into her brain,
proceeds to just sit down next to her and start pouring his heart out to her.
And she's like patting him on the leg and stuff.
She's like, there. And he tells her that his alliance with Buffy is kind of what drove Drew away. She said that he'd gone soft and wasn't demon enough for her anymore, and that the final insult was when he caught Drew cheating on him with a chaos demon, and she told Spike that they could still be friends.
Yeah. And what did he say about the chaos demons? He said in chaos demons, they're all.
It's like, have you ever seen a chaos demon? They're all antlers and slime.
Antlers and slime, yeah. I was like, yummy.
That, like you said, Willow's trying to half-heartedly comfort Spike, and she tells him that she doesn't have enough ingredients to do the spell, so he takes her list and goes to collect what she needs. And where do we go from there, Jeremy?
Is this where we head back to the library, right?
This is where we head back to the library.
There is a massive fire in the library.
And ironically, Buffy's just like jumping rope in the middle of the flames.
Yeah, she's working out. She's just having a normal workout, and there's this raging inferno all around her. Fucking, like, there's another student in there. It's an unnamed student, but he's just running around in circles screaming because he's on fire. Mm-hmm. And she just continues to jump rope.
She's just jumping rope.
He just burns.
Right. She's dedicated.
She likes to watch the world burn. We can't deny it. Anyway, yeah, she's working out, and Cordelia and Oz show up, and they're kind of a little freaked out, and they're like, yo, come with us. And she's like, bitch, I'm not your fucking slave. And yeah, then but she does go ahead and go anyway. No, so they had discovered in the lab there the mess left behind. So they take Buffy there to investigate that, and they're like, yeah, we were supposed to meet here for the double date, and this is what we see when we got here. And so she's like, well, they can't have gotten far. Okay, you two go and get, she's like, whatever's happening, whatever's going on, they can't be that far. So you two go and get Giles. And they're like, well, where's he at? And well, he's at that retreat, that camping retreat, blah, blah, blah. And Oz is like, well, I know where that's at. It's about 45 minutes. And she's like, well, motor, get to going. So they head, and she goes off to, I don't really know what. Like, is she going to meditate and get an idea of where to go? Like, I found the whole notion of like how we go on from her. How do I explain this? Like how she just kind of suddenly is like, okay, well, I'm just going to investigate. Like, let's just take this in a real world term. Let's say it was me or you. What the fuck would you do next? I'd be like, well, I don't want to know where do I fucking look? I guess I'll just wait by the phone. I don't know. Maybe the kidnappers will call with a ransom. I mean, like, what is there to do? You know what I mean? Like, there's just a big mess and they're missing. What do you do? But anyway, Buffy's mom calls and they're talking, and she hears from behind, she hears over the phone, she hears, "Hello, Joyce." It's Spike's voice. So Buffy's like, fuck. And she immediately forgets about her friends and goes to, heading home. So we go to a commercial. Well, what would have been a commercial? We come back, and Spike and Joyce are just chilling at the island there in the kitchen, and they're having hot chocolate, and he's pouring his heart out to Joyce, and she's trying to give, encouragement to him and whatnot. And he's like,
Joyce is being a better mother to Spike right now than she's ever been to Buffy.
I was about to say that shit. I was like, where are all these great Joyce moments with her own daughter, And then at one point he's like, hey, do you have any of those little marshmallows? And she's like, yeah, let me look. And well, about that time, Angel's outside the house there, which we don't really find out why, but he's kind of creeping out there. And he sees Spike inside, and he sees Joyce, and he's like, oh, fuck. So he goes flying up, and of course, he can't get past the entryway. Go ahead.
Why is the back door hanging wide open?
I never
And there's
figured that
no
out.
fucking screen door.
I never figured. That must be a California thing. You ever notice on television shows that take place in California, no one ever has storm doors or screen doors? They
No,
just have
actually.
I've noticed that my whole life, and I'm like, why does nobody ever have a screen door or anything like that? They just have like one main door,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It always seems strange to me. I'm a Midwesterner though. Lots of flies. You got to have a screen door.
Right. How else you gonna keep the skeeters out?
Yeah, you got to keep the mosquitoes out. They're going to carry you out while you're sleeping.
Right.
So yeah, he can't get through the doorway because he's not invited. Which I could have sworn last season
They did the anti.
No, but I could have. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna skip that because my brain is. I have Alzheimer's fog. So anyway, so he can't get in, and see, now we got to remember, Mama Joyce doesn't know that Angel's back, let alone that he's not evil. And
Right.
so she's freaking out, and she's like, you get the fuck out of here. I'll stake you myself. You stay away from Buffy. And the whole time Spike is like behind her making faces at Angel and shit. It's fucking hilarious. He's all like he's gonna eat her and stuff. And
He's like, Spike's like, you're a very bad man.
yeah. And at one point he's like, how does he say? Spike says, if you do anything to her, I'm gonna rip your head off or something like that. And Spike's like, you and what army? And Buffy's home, and she grabs Spike and slams him on the top of the island, and she says, Angel, why don't you come in? So Angel's now been reinvited in, so he comes in, and they're handling Spike, and she grabs a wooden spoon, and she's about to stake Spike. And that's when he reveals he has Xander and Willow, and they'll never find them unless they help him. Yada, yada. He's going to make them help him get the rest of the ingredients he needs to do this love spell, because that's what has those two for, is to make Willow do this love spell. And they're like, fine, let's fucking do it. So they head off, and we cut to Oz and Cordy in Oz's van, and he hasn't even gotten out of town yet. So I'm like, wow, you're not even out of town yet. So by the time you got to fucking Giles and back, you would have done no good for anyone in this situation. Well, they stop. All of a sudden, he sniffs and he smells something. So he stops the van. And she's like, what the fuck? And he's smelling. He's like, it's Willow. I can smell her. And she's like, smell her? She doesn't even wear perfume. And she's like, is this some kind of residual werewolf thing? It's kind of creepy. And he's like, oh, I agree. And so he backs up and turns, and they head off in another direction. And then we cut to Spike and Buffy and Angel, and they're getting the supplies they need. They're in the magic shop where he had eaten the fucking owner, and she's like, oh, this must be your handiwork. And then Angel's like, I don't even know what's the big deal with Drusilla. She's fickle and blah blah blah. And fucking Spike runs over to him and hits him, and they start fighting and yada yada. And he's like, I'm nothing without her. And Buffy's like, yeah, pretty much, you're pathetic. And he pretty much blames them. He's like, it's all your fault that I've lost her, you two. And then I don't like this part at all. It's existential bullshit, but he talks about how you two aren't friends. You're never going to be friends. You might be lovers. You might be enemies. You might be everything in between, but you'll never be friends, and blah, 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 because, love, just all this horse, just dumb. I didn't like any of it. And he's all like, you'll fight and you'll shag and you'll hate each other till it makes you quiver, but you'll never be friends. And I'm like, what? What do you want? This is dumb. This doesn't make any sense. And we cut back into the factory, and Xander's waking up, and she's feeding him through a straw some oatmeal, because he now has the mental capacity of a shoe. And he's like, where are we? She explains everything, and they're discussing basically what they can do to get the fuck out of this situation. And Willow's like, well, either I cast a spell and he kills us, or I refuse to cast the spell and he kills us. And Xander's like, well, how about a third option? So she suggests that maybe he got so drunk that he'll pass out and forget about him, and they can leave. And then he'll end up leaving them there to starve to death. And she's like, that's probably our best option. And all of a sudden they start making out. I mean, Xander's literally got all this dried blood on the side of his face from getting housed, and he's completely fucked up, but they're making out. And just in time for Oz and Cordelia to get there, as Oz has apparently tracked her down with his nose. And they walk in on those two making out. And Cordelia is fucking horrified. She turns, runs, goes to run back up the steps. She gets about halfway up the steps, and they crumble. She falls through. They all go running up there, and they look down, and she's flat on her back, and she, and all this rubble, and she's like, I fell. And then the camera pans down, and you see that she's been fucking impaled by like a piece of rebar. And it ain't looking good for Cordy. And that's not one of our killing the characters jokes. That's legit.
But fun fact, this is semi true to life, as Charisma Carpenter was impaled on a piece of rebar when she was 5 years old.
Really?
Yep. She has a big scar on her stomach from being impaled by a piece of rebar when she was 5.
Well, goddamn, that's a pretty fucked up thing to ask her to act out. Of course, it is He Who Must Not Be Named, and that probably turned him on in some weird way. So
If she was 5, she probably doesn't even remember it happened.
I think I would remember if I was ever impaled by anything.
Eh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would. Unless it was Dick. What?
Dude, you don't remember shit I say like 15 minutes ago, okay? I'm not believing you're remembering you're getting impaled by rebar.
Well, I was talking just now, and I looked up and saw you on camera, and I was like, when did he get here? So, I mean, I thought this was a solo show. So, Buffy and Angel and Spike are leaving with the supplies. They have the supplies, so they're like, let's get this fucking over with. Let's go. So they leave the magic shop. They're heading down the road. And then a group of Mr. Trick's quote unquote committee shows up and surrounds them. And a big ass fucking melee ensues. And there's like 75,000 vampires versus these 3. And they're fighting them off for the most part fairly decently. They end up getting pushed in. They have to kind of retreat back into the magic shop. And they're trying to barricade doors and windows and whatnot. But the vamps are still coming, and fisticuffs. And at one point, this one vampire kicks in the door that Angel's been like holding shut, and the door falls on him, and they just walk over it, and Angel's underneath it still, and he's just like KO'd by this.
Yeah, Angel's just like incapacitated for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's just smushed. And so she fights a bunch off, and Spike fights some off, and she gets over to Angel and is helping him up, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm fine." And she's like, "Well, you're not to your full strength, and not yet still." And I'm like, obviously. He just got beat up by a door. And
you know why he's not at full strength right now? It's because we forgot to play his theme song when he made his first entrance in the show.
Yeah, I know. It was a giant oversight on my part. I'll take the full blame for it, but I mean, what are you really gonna do when? What is that? You know where that's coming from?
I don't know.
I don't either. Okay, we'll just go.
TNT at 3 a.m.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. They both look up and they notice this shelf that's full of vials of holy water. So they grab him up and they're like, "Spike, get down." Which, why would they tell him to get down? They hate him. Why wouldn't they just throw him at him too?
Because they think they still need him to find Willow and Xander.
Yeah, but at one point, Buffy's like, "Why would we need him? He's stupid. They're probably just in the factory. We could just go get him without him." and he's like, "I'm not that dumb." And it's like, "Yeah, actually you are." But anyway, they start rocketing fucking holy water vials, and all the rest of the vampires, run off scared and screaming. And ta-da! They win the day. And then they're like, "Okay, let's go. Let's get let's get this fucking spell done. Let's get our friends, blah, blah, blah." And Spike is like, "You know what? Fuck the spell. I just need to be who I used to be, and she'll love me again, cold-hearted killer, blah, 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 blah." Then he's like, "Ain't love a funny thing?" And he just leaves.
He says he's going to do what he should have done in the first place. Find Drew wherever she is, tie her up, and torture her until she likes me again.
Yeah, and they're both, Angel and Buffy are just like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And I'm like, "Well, fuck you, Angel. You're the one that did that to her the first time that made her fucking insane." So
right. There's also a hilarious part in this where Lenny, the lead vampire of this committee, he punches Spike, and he's like, "I heard you gone soft. I'm sorry to see that it's true." And Spike's like, "Soft?" And Lenny's like, "Yeah, soft like baby food." And then Spike says something to him, but then they cut back to him later, and Spike is slamming Lenny's head on the table.
Yeah.
And Spike's going, what's he say? Does baby like his food? Does baby like his food?
Yeah. I'm like, whoa. Needless to say, Lenny gets staked. And did you notice there were several stake effects in this one?
We had 4 stakings in this episode. Yeah.
So if I could remember back to season 1 when I had looked it up to find out how much it cost back then,
it's $5,000 a pop.
$5,000, yeah, per dissolve.
Right. And that was season 1. That was season 1. It was $5,000, so it's probably gone up.
Well, maybe means the show is bigger now and more popular now. Maybe they've got a better deal on it. Maybe they can do a 2-for deal. You know.
True.
Who knows?
The more dustings you have, the more discount you get.
Yeah. So Spike is gone. We cut to a funeral.
Hold on. You left out. So at one point we cut back to the factory, and Xander has made his way down to where Cordelia has fallen.
Yeah.
And he's like, Cordy, just hang in there, stay with me. And she looks at him and she says, Xander? And he's like, yeah. And she says, I can't see you. And she closes her eyes and her head falls back to the side.
Yeah. And he finishes her off to put her out of her misery, and he snaps her neck because he doesn't want her to suffer,
And then
we cut to a funeral.
We open on a funeral.
And the priest is giving the eulogy and whatnot. And we cut down to the headstone, and it's Cordelia Chase. She's dead and is no longer a part of the show. No, the camera actually pans out, and it's Buffy and Willow walking by, and
Buffy says, "So Cordelia's gonna be all right."
And Willow's like, "No, right over there's her funeral going on. Why would you ask me that?"
I was like, this is the biggest, like,
fuck you to the fans.
Fuck you, intentional fake out I've ever seen on any TV show.
Yeah. And so Willow's like, yeah, the rebar didn't go through any of her vital organs, which I'm like, if it didn't hit any vital organs, why would she have been all like, I can't see you? Blah.
The fucking pain of being impaled by a rebar.
Oh
my
man.
God.
I've had worse than that on a Tuesday afternoon.
No, you haven't.
Oh, you'd be surprised. So she's like, well, Buffy's like, so what's going on then with you and Oz? And she's like, he still won't talk to me and blah, blah, blah. And Buffy's like, well, time, patience, and a lot of groveling is probably going to be in your future. And that's, Willow's like, yeah, Xander's going to go to see Cordelia today. Today's the first day she's been allowed to have any visitors. And then we cut to Buffy going to the mansion there. And she basically, this goes back to the bullshit existential shit from Spike earlier that I'm like, this is so dumb. This is so forced and stupid. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But she shows up and she's like, well, I just wanted to let you know I'm not coming back, and you don't need me anymore to help you get better, and I can't maintain the lie that we're friends, and blah blah blah. And he's like, what? He's like me. He's like, well, what is even happening here? And she's like, well, tell me you don't love me, and we can still be friends. And he doesn't say anything, so she's like, and she leaves. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. This is all dumb. So then we cut to everybody kind of brooding, and little flashes of each person kind of dealing with shit on their own. And Xander goes to see Cordelia and has a big bouquet of flowers and shit, and he's saying some shit to her, and she turns her head and kind of focuses on him, and she's like, Xander? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, stay away from me, and turns her head back, looks away from him. And we see Spike on the road driving, smoking, and singing along with The Sex Pistols, I did it my way.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Is it
But
tough?
we'll get into that. I'm going
Oh.
to talk about that.
And that's it. He's leaving Sunnydale after raising some more shit, as only Spike can do, and that's our episode, folks.
That is. How about a little monsterology?
Bring it.
There is none. No monsterology this week.
Right.
Our body count is 5.
Basically, monsterology probably should have never even been a category, because I'd say 90% of the time you're like, there is no monsterology this week.
Well, I mean, the episodes that deal with vampires, yeah, that's not going to get very in depth.
But I'm just saying, you're basically wasting our time with this monsterology shit. Sorry, go ahead.
Why don't you just give me your final thoughts, Jeremy?
Now, do I have to give you on a scale of something?
I don't give a fuck what you do.
Wow. This episode.
No, I'm kidding, because we still have the music. Our body count was 5. Our music was My Way.
Yeah.
But it was performed by Gary Oldman as Sid Vicious.
Oh, from the movie.
From the album Sid and Nancy, music from the motion picture soundtrack released by MCA Records in 1986.
It actually did sound a lot like Sid Vicious.
It did. So a little backstory on that, because I know you're a music guy. So Sid Vicious was the bassist for the British punk rock group the Sex Pistols, and he sang a cover of Frank Sinatra's My Way, which was released. The original My Way was released in 1968 by Reprise Records.
I thought it was earlier than that.
And Sid Vicious sang his cover on the Sex Pistols' 1979 album, The Great Rock and Roll Swindle, released by Virgin Records. Gary Oldman covered that song when he played Sid Vicious in the movie Sid and Nancy in 1986, and that is the version that Spike's listening to.
And Virgin Records, by the way, not to be confused with Whore Records.
Right. Two totally different record labels.
Right.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Why don't you give me your final thoughts and tell me how many chaos demons you will give this episode?
I'm gonna go 2.5. I was gonna go 3, but I'm gonna go 2.5 on this episode. It's getting those 2.5 purely for Spike. I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. All the silly love, friendship talk stuff didn't really mean anything. It was just words that were being said that together. And then she took it and ran with it, and I'm just like, but why? But like, why? Like, explain, like, why is this a necessary thing? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it just seems like it's a thing to do to create melodrama. I don't know. So I didn't like that. There weren't like any, like, where we have stinker episodes where there's just like horrific writing or giant plot holes and stuff. There was none of that. It was just an episode that didn't really do anything for me. I didn't like you said, I've not liked this love triangle going on, and then now the culmination of it, and now there's a big rift in the Scoobies, and I'm not into like artificial silliness, like melodrama for the sake of having melodrama. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just not an episode for me. It's definitely not on my must-watch list. And if I'm scanning through the channels and this is on, I'm gonna probably keep going. It gets 2.5 because it's Spike, and I love Spike. Other than that, Wah, 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 wah. Let me redo that. Yeah, that's what this one gets. James,
Yes.
why don't you give us your final thoughts on this episode
Mhm.
and tell me out of how many melodramas do you give this?
I will give this 4 melodramas. I love this episode. it's not a must-watch episode, but it's definitely if I'm flipping through channels and it's on, I will watch it episode. Um, yeah, I love everything about it outside of the Xander Willow stuff. But that's a season long thing that I didn't care for. I like I like that it's over as of this episode
Well,
for the most part. At the very least, it's in the open, so to
yeah.
speak. Um, um, uh, yeah, I thought everyone was great in this episode. Um, uh, I felt I felt appropriately heartbroken for Cordelia and Oz when they discovered what was going on. Um, uh, Particularly Cordelia at the end when she's uh, in her hospital room crying after telling Xander to stay away from her. Um, like we talked about earlier, I felt the fear from Willow in the scene with Spike. Um, I unlike you, I love the hell out of Spike's speech to Buffy and Angel about how they'll never be friends. Um, uh, I like I like Buffy putting Angel uh, uh, on the chopping block, so to speak. Um, with the whole, tell me you don't love me. Um, uh, yeah, yeah, it's a 4 for me. It's a really good episode overall. Um, I I uh, I would say I don't think the mayor stuff was particularly necessary. It was just I kind of feel like he was thrown in there to remind us that the mayor's a thing.
Yeah, and he's some kind
Um,
of weird, creepy
right. Um,
force.
right. Um, that was just kind of there for me. It wasn't bad, just a little unnecessary.
I
And
would have
again,
much rather seen Trick.
right. Um, and I think kind of tossing him in there, um, but not having anything with Faith, uh, was a kind of um, missed opportunity, I guess.
Swing and a miss.
Right, like why do you have to remind us that the mayor's the thing, but we're not being reminded that Faith's the thing? But
Yeah.
either way, um, so yeah, it's a 4 for me.
All right. Well, very differing opinions on this one, which we've had on various. A lot of episodes we agree pretty spot on, and then we have some where we're totally on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
I feel like you and I have the largest difference of opinion when it comes to episodes that do feature uh, uh anything existential or philosophical.
Yeah, I've never been a philosophical type of person.
Right.
Um, I just haven't never. I've just never been that way. And when it's dumped into shows, it's okay if it's done right, but sometimes I feel like it's just done to do it. Like, we need to whatever, let's split these two people up or something. Let's throw in some, like, instead of having like something happen, something concrete happen, they're like, well, some guy's going to say some shit and then she's going to be like, what? Mind blown. And then go with that. I don't know. It's just not my thing. I'm too smart for it. I mean, some people aren't.
Okay,
Oh,
if that's what we're gonna go with, okay.
woo. No, hey, I think half the world likes philosophy and half the world is like fucking stupid. I'm the fucking stupid part. Wait, that didn't come out right.
Let me remind everyone that they can find us at buffyrevisited.com on the web, where you will find links to our Gmail, which is buffyrevisited@gmail.com, our Facebook, and our YouTube. Our YouTube channel features the recordings of this very podcast in a video format, obviously, where you can gaze upon our beautiful faces if you so choose. You can also leave us comments there, which we will respond to and or address here on the program. Same thing on our Facebook. Head over there. We do not frequently, but we often post various articles or whatnot.
Well, you do.
asking for your guys' opinion on various things. So head over there, check those out, leave us thoughts and comments on that. It's also a good place to reach out to us to talk about the Buffyverse as a whole, specific episodes or either of the two shows. Let us know what you think of the podcast in general, which obviously you could do on YouTube as well. And of course, via email. Any of those are viable options for reaching out to us.
Yeah. Did you give him our OnlyFans address?
That's going to be, once you log into OnlyFans, you're going to type in @nipples.
Right.
And it's $20 a month. There's no paywall after that. We don't do pay-per-views like a lot of these other OF creators.
Yeah.
Once you're in for that $20 a month, you get everything we post.
Which is shitloads of hairy men nipples.
Right.
With
lots
clamps.
Right. Lots of nipples. There are some videos of myself or Jeremy reading hate comments to the other person while they pleasure themselves to those hate comments.
Yes.
So yeah, hop on over to the OnlyFans and check that out. Good stuff.
I wonder what's going to happen if you really type that address in.
I don't know. I don't know.
Somebody's
I don't have.
going to make a little extra money, maybe.
Yeah, I don't have. This might come as a surprise, but I didn't. I don't have an OnlyFans.
What?
Account.
I have a gold membership.
Do you?
Is that a thing?
So I wouldn't. If anyone out there does have an OnlyFans account, please type in nipples and tell us what comes up.
Happens. Yeah,
I'm very curious.
We might need to snatch that. Oh boy. All right. Well,
just to rickroll anyone that goes to OnlyFans looking for nipples. It's just it's a fucking Buffy podcast.
It's just a link back to the to the main fucking website.
There's some dude out there like, I'm just looking for pictures of nipples and I found this fucking Buffy podcast.
Goddamn Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What the hell's this, boy?
Well, am I gonna see Buffy's nipples?
I'm out of here.
No, sir, you are not gonna see Buffy's nipples. I'm sorry.
No. All right, James.
See David Boreanaz's nipples.
Oh. Closing up, you got anything you'd like to close up with? Anything you'd like to say?
No. We look forward to seeing you all again next week.
Indeed we do. I thank you for joining us. We will see you next week for Season 3, Episode 9, The Wish. The Wish. And I wish that I wasn't old.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. With all that being said, I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.